Wi-Fi?
Well, if you're going to come to my house, I have to feel free to enjoy myself. After all, a home is a man's castle. So, hi everybody, Dennis Prager here, and I have an article out there, why I smoke cigars, because I'm sure that a number of you think it's such a dangerous thing. And that's because people don't know the difference between cigars and cigarettes, and people don't know anything about e-cigarettes, which are saved millions of lives, but America, run in this instance by sort of fanaticism, is even banning electronic cigarettes as if they're cigarettes. And they're safe, and in Britain they think we're nuts because they have done all these tests of how good it is. So I don't like to follow the herd when the herd is not rational. I prefer Winston Churchill. By the way, did you know I was at the Winston Churchill Museum in London, and they photoshopped cigars out of the man's mouth. The man who almost single-handedly saved Western civilization against Hitler is taboo to show him with his ubiquitous cigar. It's a real shame that this is the war. We should have made the war on alcohol. Alcohol, after all, leads to unbelievable numbers of child abuse, of children abused, spouses abused, people murdered, rape, and of course drunk driving deaths. You ever hear of a smoking driver killing somebody? A lot of backward stuff. Anyway, great to be with you. I could give you a discourse on all types of lighters. By the way, do you know, this is an interesting thing. It's a 2,000-year-old phrase, almost 2,000 years old, in the holiest Jewish book after the Bible. It's called the Talmud. And it is said, you will be asked, every one of us will be asked 5 questions by God before we can get into heaven, when we're judged. And I believe we are judged in the afterlife. You know what one of them is? Why did you not participate in every permitted pleasure? God wants us to enjoy life. Something to think about. Anyway, got a few things to report to you. And one is, Prager University has been the subject of two major editorials in the Wall Street Journal. That's quite remarkable. It gives you an idea of how widespread the effect of Prager University is. Because YouTube has placed almost 20 of our videos on a restricted list. Means it can't be seen in libraries, can't be seen in schools, can't be seen by any home that has filtering for children, for example. It's unbelievable. There was one that came out last week by Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal, where she spoke about how the left suppresses free speech. And guess what? YouTube suppressed that particular video on the grounds that originally they said, well, there are algorithms that find things that have too much sex or violence. Please. It's an absurdity. None of ours have sex or violence, obviously. The issue is that the left suppresses free speech. I am very sad about this. I wish we could debate those whom we oppose, but they rather suppress than debate. This is a very big issue, a very big issue. This country, I am old enough to tell you that this country is so much less free than when I was a child that it's almost unrecognizable. What you can't say, it's called political correctness, but political correctness is itself a politically correct term. It's not an issue of politically incorrect or politically correct. It's a matter of what the left doesn't want to be said. But nobody uses the word left. They use the words political correctness. So it's a different country, and it's going to get worse before it gets better, if it gets better. You see, I have a very depressing little insight. People do not yearn to be free. people yearn to control others, and people yearn to be taken care of. They do not yearn for freedom. Some people do. The founders of America did. Americans in general did. But this is under the influence of our universities and our schools and our media, the institutions controlled by our dear fellow citizens on the left. This is dying. So we got problems. That's why we founded Prager University, to offer you better values and better insights into life. You got any questions? Anything coming up here, folks? We have Trusty Jared, who is one knockout of a guy. And I only mention that because he's single and I want to get him married. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dennis. Nathan, who is a student in Prager Force, PragerU's Student Ambassador Program, asks, what is your best response to the objection that conservatives don't care about poor people?
There were so many answers to that it would take us over a lot of time here. But in a nutshell, conservatives, this is a fact, this is not an opinion. Conservatives give more charity to poor people than liberals and leftists. That should be enough for you to have the answer, who cares about poor people more? The left speaks about poor people more. The right does more for poor people. The left wants concentrated government. All left is bigger government under the guise of, we'll take care of more people. But it's just more and more government, which gives people more and more power, and then there is more and more corruption. America was founded on this. First you take care of yourself, then you take care of your family, then you and the institutions of your city, town, take care of the stranger. And that is why, if you read de Tocqueville, how everything was centered around religious institutions. Obviously, in America's case, overwhelmingly churches. A woman wrote to me, I read it on my show today, a non-Jewish woman wrote to me that she is a secretary at a Jewish synagogue. And she didn't mention which city. I asked her which city, but I don't know it yet. And the woman needed a mastectomy for breast cancer and didn't have enough money. And she said, the synagogue community raised for me, the non-Jewish secretary, $10,000 to cover my most basic expenses. I bless them to this day how much they did. That's the way America was always functioning. You take care of, you don't go to the government to take care of your fellow citizen.
Next question, someone on Twitter.
God, is that delicious. Yes.
Someone on Twitter asks, Dennis, what do you mean when you say we live in the age of feelings?
You ask a kid about right and wrong. You know what you ask? How do you feel about it? Since I was a kid, this is when it began. Instead of saying this is right, this is wrong, we are asked, or we are told to ask children, how do you feel about it? What do you mean, how do I feel about it? How do I feel about murder? How do I feel about stealing? How do I feel about rape? How do I feel about it? How do I feel about genocide? Who cares how you feel about it? What matters in life is what is right and is wrong, not how you feel about it. That's one example. There are any number of examples where everything has become a matter of feeling. There is no beauty, there is no ugly, there is no great, there is no terrible, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's all feelings. And by the way, we see it in our politics. The politics is not who will do the most good. It's all feelings based. But as one who gets his values from that greatest book ever written, the Bible, we are warned repeatedly, don't trust the human heart. It's a secular belief that you can trust the human heart. Judeo-Christian values do not trust the human heart.
Kiran on Facebook asks, what aspect of conservatism is most appealing to you?
I believe in the American Trinity, and I wish you would all read my book on comparison of American values, Islamist values, and leftist values. It's 3 books in one. It's called Still the Best Hope. And it was a New York Times bestseller. If that means something to you, it's the only reason I'm saying it. It doesn't mean it's a good book, but it is a good book. It's 3 books. And you will learn what you need to know about America, the left, and Islamist thought. However, I define the American Trinity as what you find on every American coin. Liberty, e pluribus unum, that's from many one, and in God we trust. Those are the 3 aspects of American conservatism. And that it's the only country in the world with those 3 values shaping it. But if I had to narrow one thing, it would be limited government. Because the bigger the government, the less the liberty, by definition. The bigger the government, the more the corruption. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. And the left wants bigger and bigger and bigger, and we get more and more corrupt.
Ward on Facebook asks, this is verbatim, "Hey Prager, is that cigar a McAdoo?"
You mean Macanudo? No, it's not a Macanudo. McAdoo. That was cute. Maybe we won't find him a girl. A guy who mispronounces a cigar name, but maybe it was spelled wrong. Okay, I won't blame Jared. No, actually, it is one of the strongest cigars made, I like the stronger the cigar, the better. Interestingly, I get a headache if I drink this much alcohol. So this is my vice. Cigars and pipes, by the way. And when I go around the country, I go to cigar lounges, meet other guys. Usually it's guys, of course. And it is one of the final, last bonding places for men in America.
Dan asks, what are the tangible threats to religious liberty in the United States?
The tangible threats? What you will have, there's no question what you will have is ultimately a suppression of religions directly. In other words, a priest, minister, or rabbi who will not marry a same-sex couple will be eventually convicted of discrimination and even hate speech. Just by quoting the Bible, in fact, that will be enough to indict them. But just right now, the very fact that if I am a photographer, I am a Christian, or for that matter, a religious Jew, or a religious Muslim, for that matter, and I acknowledge every photographer has to photograph any client who comes, but they don't have to participate in any event that they are asked to participate in. If the Ku Klux Klan held a rally, would it be mandatory upon a black photographer to attend? I think you would all say no. The Ku Klux Klan is allowed to hold a rally. So on what grounds? I won't go because he doesn't agree with the event. Now, of course, it's not comparable, a Ku Klux Klan event and a same-sex marriage. I'm not comparing them. I'm only pointing out that we acknowledge that people should have freedom of conscience, not just freedom of religion, just freedom of conscience in this country. You can't force them to do everything as the left would have you do. If a Christian photographer does not wish to take part in a same-sex marriage because they believe marriage is defined by the Bible and God as a man and a woman, then since there are 99% of other photographers would happily take the job, there is no suffering involved here. There is only a residue of allowing people the freedom to live by their conscience, and that is being taken away.
Kevin asks, hey Dennis, you have to choose one. Give up cigars for the rest of your life, or listen to a liberal talk radio show for 24 hours and you can't say a word.
Well, they're both terrible. So, I would listen to the liberal talk show for 24 hours and not say a word. Listen, I read the New York Times every day and I can't say a word. The editors are not contacting me. I read and listen to liberals a good chunk of the 24 hours, but I smoke my cigar while I'm doing that.
Sherry asks, if you can't trust the human heart to do the right thing, Why leave charity to the generosity of others? Don't you need the government for that?
Well, actually, the Bible, which is the foundational uh, basis of American values, doesn't leave it to the heart. It says give 10%. It doesn't say if your heart prompts you. Your heart prompted you to give a donation to the building of the temple because that was ritual. But when it comes to justice, which is the Hebrew biblical word for charity, it's the feminine of the word justice. No, then you have to give a certain percentage. So it was never left to the heart. It doesn't say give to the poor as your heart prompts you. It was legislated. And by the way, I'm not against the government helping the poor. I'm against the government being the first place to help the poor. It should be the last place. But the bigger the government, the less people will give charity. That's why Americans give more charity than Europeans. Europeans are steeped in leftism since World War I. So they believe, I don't have to give charity. The government will take care of the poor. And so they give less charity. The bigger the government, the worse the character of the population. It's a very important point. I have a PragerU video on that.
Dennis in Tampa asks, my son, who's Dennis, met Mr. Prager in Tampa, and he's a Boy Scout. What are your thoughts on Boy Scouts, and why do you admire them so much?
The Boy Scouts are among the last places that are teaching young Americans character. I love the Boy Scouts for that reason. And it's a real battle, obviously, because the left wishes to crush it. The left wishes to crush all beautiful institutions, from the religious institutions to the Boy Scouts. They wish to supplant everything with the government. The government will be everything. And America was not founded to have government as everything, but to have small institutions do everything. The churches, the synagogues, the Rotary clubs, the Kiwanis clubs, the Lions clubs, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. That's what made us great. If we're going to have be another country of big government, we're not going to be great. Name me a great Western European country today. A great one. Not a big government one, a great one.
Deb asks, why do Jews overwhelmingly favor big government?
Well, it's very complex, the Jewish proclivity towards leftism, which, by the way, is in the Western world. It is not in Israel, incidentally, not nearly as much, where you have a very robust conservative movement. But there are many answers to it, and I'll give you one simple one, even though it's not it. First of all, most Jews are secular, and they're well educated. So the secular well educated, whether they're Jew or Gentile, are overwhelmingly going to favor big government because that's all they have learned about. And the Jews are the inheritors of a very strong moral tradition of taking care of people. But the Jews did it on an individual basis, like the synagogue I described earlier with the non-Jewish woman who needed money after a mastectomy. They didn't rely on government. In fact, 2 generations ago, it was considered a shame, literally a shame. In Yiddish, it was called a shanda. It was a shame for a Jew to accept help from the government because they wanted only to have local institutions help them. This is new, relatively speaking, in Jewish life, this overwhelming predisposition toward bigger and bigger government. And it's a very unhealthy and sad development.
Bradley asks, is it possible for America to remain a free nation with limited government if Americans are overwhelmingly secular?
Well, the truth is that the American Trinity has the "in God we trust" component. I don't think so, because the bigger the government, the smaller the God. Look at Western Europe, where the churches are almost, not all, but so often, museums. They're not functioning as churches. And that's because religion is dying as the government grows. Secularism grows government and shrinks God and religion. So they are, in fact, totally related. If you're not going to answer to God for your behavior, you'll have to answer to the state. And that's what's happened. The state has supplanted God. In my parents' generation, you described a good man or woman as a God-fearing man or woman. Today, it's a state-fearing man or woman. That's not the term we use, but that's what has happened.
John asks, how can I get involved and make a difference that will support our values?
Well, one way is to get, is this a young person? We don't know. Okay, well, if you're a young person, we have the Prager Force, and you could really, we're the biggest thing going right now for changing minds. It is. It may be in the world. I certainly know in the English-speaking world, and I suspect anywhere. With 150 million views this year, that's the reason that the Wall Street Journal has just editorialized about Prager University twice in the last 10 days. And the Daily Mail in Britain has just covered Prager University because it's changing minds. You can help us. Obviously, we're not the only good thing going. I want to make that clear. We're the biggest thing going in terms of changing minds, but there are other wonderful institutions that you can help, and you need to, because all the institutions that are trying to preserve the American value system need your help.
We have time for 2 more questions. Justin asks, should conservatives use language that the left owns, like climate change and other examples?
I have no problem in using the language of the left if, in fact, we believe in it. Climate change, though, obviously means one thing. It means this. Actually, it means 3 things. It means that the climate is getting inexorably warmer, number 1. Number 2, that it is caused entirely by man-made, anthrocentric genesis of this through carbon emissions. And number 3, that it will lead to mass extinction of life on Earth. If you don't agree with all 3 of those things, then the climate change issue is obviously not a big deal. For example, what if you think, of course, there's climate change, because there's been climate change all through Earth's history, before man and since man has been here. Now, what if you believe that yes, there is climate change, but it's not going to lead to terrible things. Thus far, it's mostly led to good things, because warm is better for people. Far more people die of cold than die of heat on planet Earth. So I don't mind using the language. What I do mind is there are certain things I'll never use. Social justice. Social justice is a moral fraud, because why doesn't the left use the word justice? Because they're not for justice. They're for social justice. That's why Hillary Clinton said that the type of Supreme Court justice she will appoint will take on big business. That's not the role of a judge. A judge is supposed to rule justly. And again, there's a biblical prohibition against favoring poor people in a court, because the purpose of a court is to dispense justice, not social justice.
So the last question is really going to be a comment, and I think it would be great if you could respond to the comment. The follower's name is Manuel Jimenez, and he wrote on Facebook, "This is not a question, just a comment. Dennis Prager has made me a conservative and made me look twice at the conservative political ideas. Being a Mexican living in a border city, I am grateful to be able to see and witness the great country that America is, and I hope my country could be like that. I hope and pray that America can thrive to be an even greater nation."
Well, I'm not surprised. What our task is to introduce more Latin Americans, Hispanics, whatever term you wish to use, Latinos, to the American value system, which is not the same as the Latin American value system, which is left. And it always has been. That is why the Pope of the Catholic Church, who's from Argentina, has mostly views that accord with leftism, even though his theology is Catholicism, because he's been so deeply influenced by left-wing thought in Argentina. Please see and forward to every person who speaks Spanish the PragerU video with Gloria Alvarez, a young, brilliant, beautiful a Guatemalan woman who is a journalist, and she makes the point, immigrants, this is the title, immigrants don't vote for what you fled. Vote for American values in America, not Latin American values in America. Thanks for being with me, everybody. Take care and enjoy life.